happened was the person known as Christ, whom in those days was called Emmanuel, and by the way, the name Jesus is a modern invention, and the word or term Yeshua is also a modern invention. Yehoshua, as they call him. Right. There was no Hebrew name like that. There was Joshua, and there was Joseph, but there was no Yeshua, Yehoshua. That's made up. Right. Modern times. So it's the modern history recreates the ancient history, and the old history is erased. Right. That's what we see happening there. Basically, this person named Emmanuel was genetically created by an alien group at the time that was seeking to change the direction in which mankind was headed, not because it had good intentions, but because at the time, as I write in Blue Blood, there was so much alien interference on the world at that time, after the destruction of Lemuria and Atlantis, and Sumeria was kind of spreading out in other directions. It was a free-for-all. And this particular alien group wanted to divert and create and control through religion and manipulation. It was a joint effort at the time of what has become known as Pleiadians, reptilians, and the little grays, which really all work for one another and still do. There's a lot about those Pleiadians, which is all New Age falsehood. They're not what people think they are. Right. So anyway, they genetically created him and implanted him in the womb, hence the Immaculate Conception. It really wasn't an Immaculate Conception. It was an implantation in the womb, see? Right. And so he was already programmed. And all those years, the early childhood years where Emmanuel supposedly had vanished or was not around, he was not indoctrinated in mystery schools, as they say in Tibet and Egypt. That is not where he was. He was basically on board a UFO or an underground bases being indoctrinated and programmed. That's what's going on. Wow. And the other thing is, there were a lot of political parties that were created at that time. There was the creation of the Roman Empire as the original New World Order that they were trying to impose and create. And as you know, a New World Order or a global government needs, by necessity, global religion to go along with it, so that people follow and worship all the same way, so that there's no diversion and no possibility of civil disobedience or rejection of the government policy. Right. Okay. So the role of Emmanuel was to create this New World religion at the time, to make it global, so that the empire could then take control of the entire planet with ease. Found within the shroud, embedded in the fibers, pollen samples that could have only come from the Middle East 2,000 years ago. Therefore, re-verifying the shroud as being authentic. Right. And this, of course, by Israeli Jewish scientists. So if they said the shroud is authentic, how could a Christian not? So now the shroud is being venerated again as being perfectly authentic, and the blood on the shroud is the actual blood of Christ. And so, and I've written about this in Blue Blood as well, when they bring the staged second coming of Christ, it will be a cloned individual who has been cloned from samples of that blood on the shroud. Right. And when someone comes back and says that I am the Christ, what do they do now? The big thing is, well, we have to do a DNA test, right? But what can we test? Well, the only thing left is the shroud. That's been authenticated now. So when they test the blood of the clone against the blood on the shroud, hello, it's an identical match. Who wouldn't believe that he's the second coming? Wow.
See? Another means to control us and to enslave us.
It's brilliant.
Right, it's a brilliantly conceived plan.
And then he says, I declare the New World Order my new holy empire. So, who's going to go against the real Christ?
Exactly. Now, the question has to be also asked, whose sketched body, or whose blood is it on the shroud? Is it Emmanuel, the one who wound up dying in the south of France, or was it somebody else?
Well, no, Emmanuel died in Pakistan, or Srinagar, in Kashmir.
Okay.
Yes, but that blood is legitimate because it was that was a shroud that was used to cover his body while they were resuscitating him.
Oh, okay, so it was taken from the actual event.
Yes.
Or the supposed resurrection, and the shroud in which did come from the actual Emmanuel. But now that we have also discussed Emmanuel in detail, and now we understand and identified him, that certainly leads us to understand where we are headed in the future. But now, so we covered that. Now the in-between issues, we talked about the Rothschilds, we talked about the Windsors, the Romanovs. Tell us about the royal family. Take us through Charles, Queen Elizabeth, Diana, and now what we know to be left of that lineage to be the future is Harry and I think William. Tell us about that family.
Well, that's a very big story, but I'll try to bottom line.
We've got 16 minutes left, so hope we can pull it off.
I'll give you a couple thousand years of history in a few minutes.
Okay.
Basically, all the royal families of Europe, whether it's the Windsors or the Queen Beatrice in Holland or whomever it may be, they're all related. They're all cousins of one another at this point. They've all intermarried over the centuries because they keep that blue blood lineage intact. And because they intermarry so closely like this, there comes a time when the percentage of reptilian genetics in the body becomes skewed. Mm-hmm. And let me explain. When you are a hybrid with a 50-50 split of mammalian and reptilian genetics, there is a problem as far as how the body will manifest when you're a half and half, literally. Mm-hmm. So the body genetics will always defer to the mind pattern of the soul personality in that body. So if you have a reptilian mind pattern, the reptilian genetics will activate and you will have a reptilian form. If you have a human or mammalian mind pattern, the human body will take hold. But of course, if the reptilian takes hold and you're the Queen of England, it's a bit of a problem, mm-hmm. because you're not going to be out in your regalia with your scales and your 3 horns sticking out of your crown.
Right.
So they need to maintain a human form in public. And the way to maintain that is through ritual that involves the ingestion of mammalian or human harmonics like hormones, blood, organs, etc. Mm-hmm. And so basically they ingest through ceremony those materials in sexual and sacrificial ritual. Now, over the centuries, the inbreeding in the Rothschilds and the Windsors became so that there was more percentage of reptilian than human. Enter Princess Diana in the mm-hmm. Spencer family. Mm. The reason that marriage took place had nothing to do with love. It had to do with the fact that she came from a committee of 300 family that closely support the Illuminati, and her genetics were more of a mammalian side than reptilian. Right. So by infusing her genetics into the Windsor family, it skewered back the royal family percentage to 50-50 again, mm-hmm. preventing any problems in the next generation or so. And then when she was done with that, she had to be sacrificed. Mm. And that's a whole nother...
That's a whole other story with the accidents
so
and everything.
That's why she was married to him, and that is why she produced those 2 heirs to the throne, mm-hmm. So that they could maintain their 50-50 split in the genetics.
And it's well documented, however, like you said, the marriage had nothing to do with love,
no.
because he was always involved with Camilla in the midst of it.
Well, hello, he's involved with men. And that's another story. When I was in Switzerland years ago, someone who knows the royal family, mm-hmm. and I can't name names because I was sworn to secrecy,
right.
said if you look at Camilla's birth certificate, it's not Camilla, it's Camillo. And it is actually male.
Wow. Now, someone said there has also been said, and these are just little dispersions, but you might want to take it under advice and under consideration that she or he has been described as looking like a crocodile.
Well, she looks like a man to me.
Well, yeah, that too. But the features in general have been made. That comparison has been made as far as looking like a crocodile. I mean, from a reptilian standpoint.
Yes. Well, the royal family, basically, if you look at them, they really do look reptilian.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you look at the Queen Mum before she passed on. She was quite